Tonight, a major health push 2 days out from early voting. Free sanitary products from Labor, a mega hospital rebuild from the Liberals.
Ambulances on standby as a COVID cruise docks. Doctors warn rising cases cannot be ignored.
Poppy seed poisoning, an urgent health warning after 6 Victorians land in hospital.
Hacking the hackers. Australian authorities fighting back over cyber attacks.
Anthony Albanese joins world leaders for a week of high-stakes diplomacy as jubilation erupts on the streets of one Ukrainian city.
And Melburnians making a move away from the frantic last-minute Christmas crush.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor and Rebecca Madden.
Good evening. The Premier's promising free sanitary products to women in an Australian first push to install public vending machines across the state.
2 weeks out from Election Day, health is dominating the campaign, with the Liberal Party pledging a multi-billion-dollar Alfred Hospital rebuilds.
With pre-poll voting starting in just 2 days, dueling health announcements from the two leaders today. Labor says free tampons and pads from vending machines will change lives.
So this is simple and in some respects a small thing, but it will make a very big difference to women and girls right across our state.
Already in schools, but $23 million will put 1,500 more free vending machines at 700 locations, such as railway stations, court buildings, libraries, museums, for emergencies and for those who simply can't afford them.
This is such an important step for equality across our public spaces for young women.
Having this freely available to not only the homeless people, but anybody that requires it is a necessity and should be just a basic human right.
The opposition today launched its biggest election promise so far, a $2.4 billion Alfred Hospital rebuild.
I intended to make it a world-class, world-leading hospital.
They promise a new St Kilda wing and a total of 16 operating theatres, 79 ICU beds and 102 acute mental health beds. Last month, Professor Mark Fitzgerald, who treated the Premier's back injury, attacked the government over the Alfred's condition.
A hospital that is crumbling, a hospital that is not fit for purpose. It is not up to scratch in the 21st century.
Once again, it'll be funded by diverting money from the suburban rail loop, supported by Jason Hennessy, whose wife Kylie had to travel interstate for a brain tumour scan.
We need to get our priorities back into our health system, and these ego projects need to stop.
And the government today demanded Matthew Guy and the Liberals dump their advertisements, urging voters to put Labor last on their ballots in 2 weeks, below even far-right fringe candidates.
What he's saying is that alleged neo-Nazis, the far right, violent extremists, are more worthy of your support than Labor candidates. And that is simply unacceptable.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
A man has died in a workplace accident in the driveway of a caravan factory in Melbourne's north. Emergency crews arrived at the Campbellfield compound around lunchtime to find a 41-year-old Epping man trapped under a truck. He died at the scene. WorkSafe is investigating.
A cruise ship with hundreds of COVID cases on board has docked in Sydney. It is a flashback to a strikingly similar occurrence at the start of the pandemic, but with cases on the rise again, doctors say this time it can't be ignored.
The ship has a capacity of 4,500 people. At least 800 have COVID. Majestic Princess docking in Sydney this morning, ambulances waiting. It's the biggest single outbreak since the Ruby Princess cruise ship more than 2.5 years ago.
The experience was lovely on board until we heard that the virus was, on board.
Just as Australia's next COVID wave settles in. This week across the country, an extra 401 COVID patients are in hospital.
Cases will go up and down. This will be with us for a period of time. There'll be challenging times.
But information from overseas suggests this wave could be shorter and sharper. The peak, perhaps early December, well before Christmas. Retired psychiatrist Paul Valent says that's better news for those among us with COVID fatigue.
Try to deal with it stresses you out more than trying to get away from it. You get fatigued.
Dr. Valent has written a book on mental health in the pandemic. He says stress fatigue is common, seen before in world wars and among those living with chronic conditions who have simply had enough.
Probably more than just the pandemic. There's also global warming. There's a kind of despair. Where are we heading? What's happening?
Dr. Valent's suggestion, take a break. Go on holiday if you can. Likely what thousands on board the Majestic Princess were doing. The Medical Association president tweeting, if major public hospitals on the East Coast aren't overwhelmed with patients and staff shortages over the holiday break, I'll donate $1,000 to charity. All on board have been given masks, COVID-positive people separated from others. From Princess Cruises, reflective of the increase in community transmission, we too have seen more guests test positive.
And I'd be absolutely certain the priority of the New South Wales government will be to make sure those people get the care that they need.
If you're due a vaccine booster, the new ones cover off the latest variants slightly better. 5th doses are only available for adults who have severely compromised immune systems.
Blake Johnson is at Station Pier tonight. Blake, that same cruise ship is coming to Melbourne.
Beck, the Majestic Princess is due here first thing Monday, but that is the start of a new cruise, an 8-day trip from Sydney down to Melbourne, then Tassie and returning to New South Wales. So very unlikely that we'll see any of the passengers that disembarked in Sydney today, but some of the 1,300 odd staff on board will remain, except for those perhaps directly affected by the latest COVID waves to sweep a cruise liner. Beck?
Blake Johnson, thank you.
Victorians are being warned about the risks of poppy seed poisoning after more than a dozen people were admitted to emergency departments across the country. Sarah Jones joins us live. And Sarah, one person suffered a heart attack.
Yes, Mike, 6 patients in Victoria have been poisoned and it's prompted a statewide alert on poppy seeds and the potentially severe reactions. It's believed contaminated seeds are to blame, but authorities are still investigating the exact cause and warning about the dangers of this drink craze.
A trendy home brew prompting urgent advice.
A health alert has been issued in relation to the consumption of poppy seeds in a tea.
Health officials fear there may be a contaminant in poppy seeds readily available in supermarkets that is making people sick. 19 patients across Australia have already needed urgent care. Symptoms include dangerously rapid heartbeats, muscle and limb spasms, seizures and kidney injuries. Those most at risk are drinking teas using large quantities of poppy seeds between 120 grams to 1 kilogram. And with the brew popular amongst social media users, the advice:
this would appear to be a pretty risky and dangerous thing to do, and I would encourage people not to do that.
Some of those poisoned have reported the poppy seed tea having an unusual dark brown colour and bitter taste. Officials are still investigating whether small quantities of seeds used in food, either cooked or raw, have toxic side effects. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
A pregnant pea plater has been taken to hospital after crashing into a bus stop in Melbourne's west. The 24-year-old was the only occupant of the Honda CR-V when the accident happened near the corner of Warwick and McIntyre Roads in Sunshine North just before 11 o'clock this morning. 7 News understands the woman is 24 weeks pregnant and was bleeding from the mouth. She was taken to nearby Sunshine Hospital for observation.
Russian criminals accused of stealing Medibank customer data and posting it on the dark web have been labelled scumbags. The federal government is now vowing to hack the hackers as a new task force is launched.
After the hack that's hit millions of Australians, today the government's pledge to fight back.
Hunt down the scumbags who are responsible for these malicious crimes against innocent people.
100 officers from the Federal Police and Signals Directorate brought together in a permanent operation against an ongoing threat.
the smartest and toughest people in our country are going to hack the hackers.
Police saying they believe the Medibank hackers were Russian-based had Russian officials complaining. For some reason, the announcement was made before the AFP even contacted the Russian side. We encouraged the AFP to duly get in touch.
That's an operational matter that I will not comment on.
But the Attorney-General did say
any country that harbours criminals of this kind is in fact assisting them.
Russia has a responsibility to stop criminal activity that's having a real impact on people in Australia and indeed around the globe.
Cybersecurity experts say with a Russian-based hacker unlikely to ever face court, let alone jail, authorities have to simply try to make Australia a tough place to target.
The disruption strategy, where you're putting sand in the gears of the criminals and making it really hard for them to operate. Then they can certainly download malware onto the networks, they can disrupt their communications.
After pressure from the US in January, Russian authorities said they had shut down the hacking group REvil, but experts believe it is back and behind the Medibank breach.
I am quite sure it's REvil. These organised crime groups generally have about 12 to 15 people at their core and then a whole lot on the periphery. So it'll be some core and probably some periphery that have done this attack.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Well, dangerous weather is returning to Victoria with emergency services bracing for heavy rain and severe thunderstorms.
Sonia Marinelli joins us now. Sonia, this is set to ramp up this evening.
Yes, Beck, Mike, already this afternoon we've seen severe thunderstorms marching into the northwest and northeast of Victoria, and from tomorrow more dangerous weather. There'll be widespread soaking rain and storms, but it's expected to intensify over the northeast ranges. That's where we're being told there is the potential for life-threatening flash flooding. All of this rain, of course, disastrous news with the state still recovering from last month's flooding rain. Parts of northern Victoria remain underwater and our catchments are still swollen. These are the areas that are on flood watch. The Bureau of Meteorology is forecasting minor to moderate flooding across northern and parts of southern Victoria from tomorrow, and there's a risk of isolated major flooding in the northeast. And we could also get some localised flooding here in Melbourne with any storm activity. Beck, Mike, more details after sport.
See you soon. Thanks, Son. Anthony Albanese has begun a whirlwind 9 days of global summits with a focus on peace and security. While a meeting with China's President Xi Jinping is not yet confirmed, the Prime Minister is hopeful of a reset in the relationships.
International diplomacy at a time of increasing global uncertainty.
Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese greeted by Cambodian counterpart Hun Sen.
Prime Minister, good to see you.
And reconnecting with Ukraine's Foreign Minister.
Be assured of Australia's ongoing support.
Before telling ASEAN members Australia will help protect its cherished principles of peace, freedom and economic well-being against new and dangerous challenges.
My government is committed to deepening Australia's engagement with Southeast Asia.
To do that, appointing a special economic envoy to the region, former Macquarie Bank CEO Nicholas Moore.
Australia remains committed to a rules-based regional order with ASEAN at the centre.
US President Joe Biden arriving, embraced as a close friend of Asia. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang representing Beijing, deputising for President Xi Jinping, who will meet President Biden in Bali at the G20 on Monday.
Out of dialogue comes understanding, and we need more, not less, in today's uncertain world.
China has also confirmed meetings with France's Emmanuel Macron and the leaders of Senegal and Argentina, and says President Xi will meet others upon request, which could include Anthony Albanese.
There are no preconditions for a meeting. I've always said that we'll cooperate with China where we can.
Anthony Albanese's aim at these summits is to entrench Australia's position as a partner of choice in the region. On the one hand, America's staunchest ally. On the other, willing to re-engage with China. It's quite a delicate balance.
Australia acts in its national interest. It wants good relations with China, but it's not going to sell national interests down the river in order to achieve that.
Australia's friendship available, but not for sale.
Let's go live now to political editor Mark Riley, who's in Cambodia for us tonight. Mark, is there any update on the possible meeting with President Xi?
Well, nothing confirmed as yet, Mike, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes here in Cambodia, I can tell you, to try and make that happen in Bali over the next several days. It seems the Chinese in particular are quite eager to get the two leaders together. They believe that a lot of the heat has gone out of the bilateral relationship with the emergence of the Labor government. And Anthony Albanese says he would welcome the opportunity to meet face-to-face with President Xi, but he's not about to go bowing and scraping to make it happen. If it does, though, he would be polite but direct. China must drop its punishing $20 billion trade sanctions against Australia if there's to be any chance of the relationship improving. Mike?
Mark Riley, live in Cambodia. Thank you.
In developing news now, 2 police officers have been injured in a protest on the steps of Parliament late this afternoon. The 2 officers were assaulted by 2 freedom fighter protesters and suffered minor injuries. Police closed in on the 2 men and were pepper sprayed. 2 men have been arrested. There have been jubilant scenes on the streets of Ukraine's 4th largest city, welcoming back Ukrainian troops after the withdrawal of Russian soldiers. Vladimir Putin's army has now retreated, but suspicion remains about Moscow's motives.
The moment of liberation in Freedom Square. The day Kherson wrapped itself in Ukraine's national colours, hoisting the flag, embracing soldiers. A people jubilant and relieved. The strategically important city had been under brutal Russian control for 8 months. Many locals living in hiding before a dramatic retreat by Moscow's troops. Today is a historic day, proclaimed Volodymyr Zelensky, saying the people of Kherson had been waiting. They never gave up on Ukraine. Just 6 weeks ago, Vladimir Putin declared the entire Kherson region was newly annexed Russian territory. Today, his supporters blamed the military, not the president. The 30,000 fleeing Russians abandoned ammunition and mortar shells, a possible sign of a panicked withdrawal, blowing up this bridge too as they left, taking up positions across the river. Fears remain some Russian soldiers have stayed behind in civilian clothing, preparing to cause terror. But it's not enough to keep these people off the streets. A long night of celebration. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Christmas is coming early as new statistics show Victorians are spending early to beat the last-minute rush. And the rising cost of living has consumers on the hunt for bargains.
At High Point Shopping Centre, Christmas has come early, and so too have shoppers looking for a bargain.
It is hard, you know, everything is expensive, but it is what it is.
Been shopping online a lot with all the sales, and then, come out today, find a few little things.
Statistics reveal our spending habits have changed this holiday season. We're moving away from the last-minute rush. This year, 84% of sales will take place prior to the week of Christmas.
We're certainly seeing people shopping earlier and earlier for Christmas, and that's strongly encouraged by retailers and also Australia Post. We want everyone to get in and avoid disappointment.
The trend began during COVID, Victorians shopping early to avoid the crowds, but it's continued as the cost of living rises. With inflation jumping to 7.3%, Australians are hunting for a bargain. We're expected to take full advantage of Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales at the end of this month.
You can expect an average of about 22% discount during that week, so it's really quite significant and definitely worth preparing for.
In spite of the financial pressures facing all Australians, Victorians are expected to be among the highest spenders this Christmas, averaging around $730 each on gifts and entertainment.
We do hope that Victorians do come out in force to support local businesses over the next period.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Well, lightning has played havoc with the AFLW finals. Abby Delmy, it's been a bizarre day for Collingwood in Adelaide.
It certainly has, Beck. A freak storm threatened to derail today's semi-finals and players were forced to run for cover as lightning and torrential rain lashed the Pies and the Crows.
This is the race just coming out here. Underwater, it is absolute mayhem here.
Commitment from So Does Air. A stark contrast to a packed punt road as the Tigers went kangaroo hunting. A pair of Brownlow medalists helped to guide a sought-after son to the Cattery. A World Cup statement as the Matildas waltzed their way to revenge at Amy Park. And we do have a special guest coming in this evening, guys, in sport.
In here?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Look out.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll see you later.
Okay, look forward to it. Well, Melbourne's spring selling spree is underway with new listings flooding the market despite interest rate hikes. Details next on 7 News.
Worrying signs for Victorian students as the learning gap widens.
A new plan for soft plastics after the collapse of a major recycling scheme.
Why Victorian girls are flocking to play cricket in record numbers.
And later, from virtual reality to real life, the game-changing tech being rolled out in our hospitals. A spring selling spree is underway with a rush of homes hitting the Melbourne property market. A price drop by as much as $50,000 isn't slowing sales as sellers look to cash in before Christmas.
After a 9-week slump, Melbourne is hosting the busiest auction week in the nation.
We are the most lockdown market in the world in terms of lockdowns, and that's why we love property so much.
Almost 1,000 homes will be auctioned off starting this weekend, giving buyers 20% more choices than last week. This 4-bedroom Oakley South home generating a bidding frenzy.
The family had owned it since 1992. They built it. It's sold! Congratulations!
This Cheltenham townhouse sold for less than predicted, but the couple was eager to upsize.
We were a growing family, so we were just looking for something else.
We've seen housing prices in Melbourne fall about $52,000 since they peaked.
We know that people want to get those properties sold before the holiday season.
Last week's clearance rate, the lowest in 9 weeks, just below 60%. It's hoped spring will turn that around, with buyers and sellers finding a middle ground.
And we're definitely seeing a lot more auctions selling under the hammer than what we were, say, 2 months ago.
Rising interest rates have taken some of the heat out of the market, but there's still plenty of properties quick to clear. Homes advertised in Melbourne's outer east, only lasting 13 days online. The property price outlook hinging on the next interest rate move.
But I think it's fair to say we are approaching the peak in interest rates.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
New research shows the pandemic has widened the learning gap in Victoria. Analysis of this year's NAPLAN results has found a serious long-term decline in literacy and numeracy levels of most children from a disadvantaged background. An average Year 9 student from a low socio-economic background is academically on par with a Year 5 student from an advantaged background. Lobby group Save Our Schools is behind the research and says Victoria is a failed education state.
The Greens are pushing to phase out more single-use soft plastics, including fruit and vegetables wrappings. Victorians' customers would also be encouraged to BYO with the ban on takeaway coffee cups and containers.
Everyday people, they want to do the right thing. They don't want to see plastics like these ending up on our beaches and in our waterways.
The Greens plan allocates $150 million to upgrade recycling factories in the wake of the collapse of the Red Cycle soft plastic scheme at major supermarkets.
As summer approaches, one Aussie pastime is finding a whole new generation. Cricket is attracting girls in growing numbers, with a competition in Melbourne's southeast paving the way for a new wave of success.
Returning to where her star was born, Aussie all-rounder Annabelle Sutherland's cricketing journey began here in the all-girls cricket competition.
A lot of the girls just love the game, and that's why they started playing, for the enjoyment of it.
The concept in Melbourne's southeast is now 10 years old and is the largest of its kind anywhere in Australia.
First year, I think we were something like 4 clubs and 47 odd girls playing. To now, there's something like 31 odd clubs with roughly 600 girls playing.
Women and girls cricket registration is up 27% on last year nationally. Girls' numbers have doubled on the back of a $6 million investment as part of Cricket Australia's Growing Cricket for Girls Fund.
One of the big changes that the All Girls has helped drive is a cultural change across cricket clubs. It's not driven by men or only, it's driven by a combination of cricketers. They just happen to be female and male.
It's a game for everyone and it shouldn't discriminate with boys or girls. So it's great to see a comp like this that's been running for 10 years and is really successful.
We love cricket!
Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Oh, there is pure joy tonight for a Keysborough family. Their precious pet Pooch has been returned a week after being stolen from outside a Docklands restaurant. The exclusive backstory next on 7 News.
Also, a blow to revival plans for a Kilmore school.
Vote counting continues in America with the Democrats closing in on a stunning Senate victory.
And the family of a World War II veteran finally wins a battle of its own. Administrators are recommending the collapsed Colmont International School in Kilmore be placed into liquidation. A report by administrators Cor Cordis reveals the school may have been trading while insolvent for more than 6 years. The school's sudden shutdown in July caused heartbreak for students and parents. It's a blow to a potential investor who's trying to revive the school in time for Term 1 next year.
A family in Melbourne's southeast has been reunited with their pet dog almost a week since a brazen kidnapping outside a popular city restaurant. It's still unclear why the pooch was stolen, with no arrests yet made over the Dog Act.
Making up for a week's worth of hugs and kisses for a beloved family dog the Sharmas didn't know they'd ever see again until last night.
We were screaming. We were so excited.
A man phoned Hashita after recognising Angel, the Maltese Shih Tzu, from a 7 News report last Sunday.
Go back home without. He was like, I know where your dog is. He saw her with at someone's place. He didn't mention the name. He just gave her to us. He was like an angel for us.
The opportunistic thief struck last Saturday night. The man of Indian appearance, masked in a bandana, approached Angel, grabbed her collar to unclip the leash and made a run for it back up the esplanade, while the family was eating dinner just metres away.
It's just wrong, honestly, what they've done, it's just horrible. She's a family to us.
Despite the return of Angel, police say they're not giving up the search for the dog napper, but so far no arrests have been made. Returning home extra hungry, thirsty and understandably shaken, Angel is tonight in good spirits. If only dogs could talk. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Well, the Democrats are one seat away from retaining control of the US Senate after claiming a win in Arizona. They're also edging closer in neighbouring Nevada. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has hit out at his emerging rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, calling him average and sanctimonious. Trump is expected to announce he's making another run for the White House as early as next week, but he's under pressure to postpone following the Republicans' soft election performance.
One of the greatest accolades a World War II veteran can have is being known as a legendary Rat of Tobruk. A determined family has battled for years to get that recognition for their patriarch, and their quest has just ended successfully after a chance find. Nick McCallum has this story.
Harold Gascoigne always told his family he was a Rat of Tobruk. The first to defeat the Germans in World War II, they became legends.
The siege, which is to last 242 days and rank with the great sieges of history.
One story he told me when I was a child was that they needed some heroes over in Tobruk, so they gave him a call.
Harold died in 2002. To honour him, his family applied to join the Rats Descendants Association, but
We opened up his service record and found out that there was actually no record of him being at Tobruk.
the association's history detective, Ray Windlow, spent months searching for documentary proof. Nothing.
There was one point there where Ray had basically come to a dead end.
I don't think we're ever going to find any evidence.
But in my heart, I knew it wasn't a lie. I knew it was true that he was there.
But then a breakthrough. Ray discovered a group of Australians were seconded to a British unit on the Tobruk docks. And on a loose piece of paper inside that unit's war diary, finally confirmation. Harold was there.
It is an incredible find.
It was a lovely surprise when he came back and said, "Guess what? We found something."
Oh, I was over the moon.
We knew it to be true and now we could prove it, so it was awesome.
Historians understand why it's so important for Harold's family.
For the Gascoignes to finally have recognition, I'm sure was an incredible feeling.
For me, it meant a lot because I know it's something he was very proud of.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Apple has issued a security alert for all iPhone users. What you need to know. Next on 7 News.
Also, how virtual reality is changing the way real-life patients are being treated.
And how a driver walked away unscathed from this high-speed crash. 2 men have been charged over an armed robbery in South Melbourne last week. A delivery driver was threatened with a knife at a Market Street depot before the pair stole a number of packages. Detectives have swooped on a South Bank apartment, arresting a 21-year-old and 37-year-old. Both are facing a string of charges and have been remanded in custody.
Apple has issued an urgent alert for all iPhone users. The tech giant is urging all iPhone owners to check their settings and update their operating systems. The update has several security changes which are aimed at preventing hackers from terminating apps and blocking them from running malicious code to spy on a user's activity. The system update is free.
New technology being described as a flight simulator for doctors is reaching new heights in regional hospitals.
The virtual reality headsets are being rolled out following success training students in cities right across the country.
It's not cinema or a video game, but new cutting-edge medical training. On this operating table, no helping hands, virtual reality is the teacher in action.
Whenever someone is in our virtual space, they feel like they're actually somewhere they've either been before or they could go in real life.
So you could think of us as a flight simulator for doctors. It can be situated anywhere, and as long as you have internet connectivity, that's all you need.
Research revealing the headsets reduce medical error by 40%, improving performance of students by 32%. For staff at Nepean Hospital in Sydney, it's made the world of a difference.
Seeing that confidence grow so they feel that they can go to the bedside and they know how to set it up.
Regional hospitals won't miss out. The devices rolling out for the first time at La Trobe Regional Hospital.
From a regional and rural perspective, it provides that equity of access. You basically get the same level of training you might get at a metropolitan centre.
While the technology is being used to simulate procedures such as complex heart surgery, the founders believe VR could also be a regular part of doctor consultations in years to come.
What VR can provide is patient education to actually better understand your disease or your surgery or pathology, etc.
The future of healthcare unfolding before a very different pair of eyes. Angelique Opie, 7 News.
A drag racer has survived a high-speed crash at a major motorsport meet in WA. Errol Quartermain, a super stock car, rolled and landed on its roof. Event organisers say the driver is okay thanks to the high standards of safety equipment in the vehicle.
Lucky indeed. Sport is next with Abby, Joey and Abby. A freak storm has threatened to derail the AFLW finals.
Yeah, Beck, the Magpies and Crows were forced to flee the field in Adelaide as they fight for a place in the preliminary finals, while Punt Road wasn't a happy hunting ground for the Tigers. How a pair of Brownlow superstars played a role in one of the trade period's most controversial deals. A place on top of the cricket world up for grabs at the MCG. And the unlikely Formula One pole sitter that shocked even himself. Welcome back. A wild storm caused chaos in the AFLW semi-final between Collingwood and Adelaide. After more than an hour of delays, the Pies fell just short in a bizarre end to their season.
Having already faced a 30-minute delayed start, lightning returned to cause havoc in Adelaide.
It is absolutely hosing down. It is pitch black dark.
This looks like Armageddon.
Pies and Crows players forced to run for cover as a freak storm halted play.
This is the race just coming out here.
underwater.
It's good, a good facility for a swimmer actually right now. I could backstroke out there if I wanted to.
After a 40-minute break, the skies cleared and the arm wrestle returned. Adelaide holding a slim lead on a rain-soaked surface, but the Pies kept within reach.
It spills to the front for James, and Eliza James slots the goal.
With goals at a premium, the two majors before the storm proved the difference for the Crows. Adelaide to take on Brisbane next week. The sun was shining at a sold-out Punt Road Oval. A semi-final shootout. North kicked 8 goals in the first half for a 29-point lead. Tiger Jess Hosking had her intentions written on her shoulder strapping. Twin sister Sarah put words into action.
Oh, Hosking, she has floored Mia King with a brutal bump, and King is very slow to rise.
The brutal but fair hit left King shaken and sparked a Richmond fight back.
Conti is a great player to have it. Look at it go. They're coming.
Only for the Roos to hold firm.
A sidestep, a ceiling goal. The Kangas are on their way to a prelim.
The home ground advantage not enough for the Tigers as North booked a clash against Melbourne.
Yeah, we absolutely love playing at this. We love playing at this ground, and yeah, so proud of the girls.
An emotional finish for Richmond as Courtney Wakefield announced her retirement. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
2 Brownlow medalists helped seal one of the most talked about deals of the recent trade period for Geelong. Jack Bowes is wasting little time in his bid to break into the Premier's star-studded midfield.
It's worlds away from a trade period in the headlines, but this Gold Coast Oval is where you'll find Jack Bowes preparing for life as a cat.
Well, at first it was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. I was obviously pretty shocked and disappointed by the news, but once that had all passed, I was pretty excited by the opportunity.
Told to move on by the Suns, Bowes picked Geelong over Hawthorn and Essendon.
Yeah, that really appealed to me, the beach, the farms and the city all in one.
The Cat snubbing pick 7 as part of the landmark trade, taking on his remaining 2-year $1.6 million deal, topping it up and spreading it over 4 years. Former Suns teammate Gary Ablett putting in a word to Geelong recruiters, so too a fellow Brownlow medalist.
I'd ask the question halfway through the year, around where he's at.
Yeah, it's very humbling. I've obviously got to build a bit of a relationship with him through my management. I'm just looking forward to getting to hopefully play alongside him.
Used this year in defence, Chris Scott has bigger plans for the top 10 pick, who has teamed up with Andrew Rains's one-on-one football.
They're pretty keen to play me through the midfield, but open to playing anywhere, to be honest, and obviously nothing's guaranteed in footy.
Work on some midfield craft in his hands and contested football and a bit of kicking work.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
A piece of history is up for grabs for England in tomorrow night's T20 World Cup final against Pakistan. Both captains got a bird's eye look at the MCG pitch this morning. England can become the first side to hold both the one-day and T20 titles if they take the cup.
There's huge excitement for the match. Anytime you get a chance to play in a World Cup final is a huge honour.
Of course, fans, when we come in the ground and support your team, so they give us confidence.
England's Mark Wood and Darwin Milan remain in doubt to overcome injury concerns. The Matildas have made a statement ahead of next year's World Cup. Sam Kerr opened the scoring against world number 2 Sweden at Amy Park before Caitlin Ford doubled the advantage.
Onto the right foot! Oh, and that's 2! Amy Park erupts, and Caitlin Ford's rich goal-scoring form continues.
And the Matildas weren't done there, completing a dominant 4-0 victory in front of 22,000 fans. Australia has broken New Zealand hearts to claim a spot in the Rugby League World Cup final on the back of some individual brilliance from Josh Adokar.
Here comes Adokar! It's one of the great Rugby League tries! Josh Adokar! What have we just witnessed?
The Kangaroos held on to win 16-14. They'll take on England or Samoa in the final. And not even Kevin Magnussen could believe he took his and the Haas team's first ever Formula One pole for tonight's Brazil Grand Prix sprint race.
What position are we?
You're P1, mate.
You're kidding.
I am not kidding.
You're kidding. You're kidding me. I've never ever felt like this in my life.
Do you think he's happy? Magnussen in the Haas garage erupted into wild celebrations once he was back in pit lane. You love to see it, don't you? But speaking of celebrations, for Geelong fans, tomorrow is your final chance to see the 2022 Premiership Cup up close and personal. Beck, remain seated for the rest of the news. It's going to be okay. Now, it's been on tour for 2 weeks and Cats faithful are loving the opportunity to get some photos. It arrived today in Melbourne via the Port Phillip ferries. The 13th and final stop will be tomorrow at the iconic Run for Geelong event. It's on show from 7:30 a.m, so you should be able to get your photo, get down there.
Look at this, the tour just rolls right on through the studios here at 7 News. Look at that, everybody. Look, it brings a joy.
Check whether there's any
the smile of everybody.
I'm surprised it just wasn't in your handbag, Beck, with how much you've...
I've just been carrying it around. Mike, would you like a picture of this later on?
No, thank you, Beck. No.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It brings a lot of happiness to everybody.
Tomorrow, get down, get your photos with it. Why wouldn't you?
Okay, Sonia, save us here with the latest on the rain. And we could get up to 20 mils in Melbourne alone tomorrow.
We could, Mike, and there's a potential for storms as well. But other parts of the state are on severe storm watch. The full forecast up next. Hello again. We are tracking a very active 24 hours on the weather front. We've got waves of showers and storms passing over the state from now. In Melbourne, showers developing from late tonight. A possible rumble of thunder or two as we sleep. Tomorrow, dry breaks weaved in with bursts of rain, and that humidity may feel oppressive. We have started the weekend mostly dry and a top temperature of 18.7. Melbourne relatively quiet, but we have had storms firing up across the north. A line of severe storms marching over the South Australian border, whipping up wind, rain and hail. We've got another area of storms just here in the northeast that's bringing intense downpours there. But despite all of this tropical moisture, maximums hit between 1 and 4 degrees below the November average. And here is what is driving all of this instability. A low pressure system just south of Adelaide that is extending troughs over Victoria and dragging all that tropical moisture down. Early on Monday, we've got a cold front moving through as well. So that is why tomorrow will generally feel warm and muggy, maybe even oppressive for you, but it's much cooler and fresher statewide on Monday. Over the next 4 days, this latest rain event is set to drench the state thanks to those widespread showers and hit and miss storm activity. Much of the state is on flood watch, in particular tomorrow. So the forecast now, and that system is driving showers and storms from South Australia right through to the east, but Brisbane is nice and dry for now. Across Victoria, there will be a few lines of showers and storms that will pass through during the day all the way through to Monday morning. So do expect waves of showers and storms with dry breaks in between. We stay under cloud, but the air is humid, so it is warm and muggy. Winds moderate to locally fresh northerlies. And because Sunday's weather is so unstable, this is the area under a severe weather watch. We are expecting heavy rain and flash flooding. Closer in, the bulk of the day will remain dry, but every now and then we'll get a line of showers, maybe even a storm or two passing through. That could dump some heavy rainfall. It'll feel warm but muggy. Temperatures ranging from the mid-teens into the mid-20s. Morning winds up to 35 k's an hour. They'll settle through the evening. Here in the city, passing showers, a possible rumble of thunder, but remember there'll be plenty of dry breaks. We've got a low of 16, top of 26. The storm risk clears out early on Monday, but we'll get more showers as the temperature starts to drop. So a top of 20 on Monday, just 14 by Tuesday, 15 on Wednesday, improving after that, a top of 17 and cloudy on Thursday, sunshine and 24 on Friday. That's the good day. Possible showers and 26 on Saturday. But tomorrow, warm and humid. We've got showers and those hit and miss storms right throughout the day. But compared to northern parts of the state, we should escape the worst of it here in Melbourne.
OK, thanks, Son. And that's the latest from 7 News for this Saturday.
Weekend Sunrise is here at 7 a.m. for now. Take care. Good night.